Hello, my dear players. For this video, we'll be taking a break from the discussion on gods so that I can have a little bit of time to describe something that my players in my current campaign have gone through. And also discuss some of the ideas that I present in that. So in this quest line that my players are currently going through, they were kind of presented a situation where there are these three islands very close together, and each island has a unique tribe upon it. And these three islands with these three tribes are being plagued by pirates and navy warring with each other, trying to take over the three islands. And there's also some frontiersmen that are here as well, trying to settle a bit and to make peace with the natives and kind of create a symbiotic relationship with them. But that's greatly harmed by the navy and the pirates fucking everything up. So my players, acting as essentially mercenaries, take up with the frontiersmen to help them repair their relationship with the three tribes and to get the navy and the pirates off the fucking islands. Sorry for my breathing. It is America Day. It's been tiring today. Sorry. 4th of July is when I'm recording this. And I'm exhausted. But yeah, back on track. So with this situation, they start to before dealing with the navy or the pirates, they want to make contact with each of the tribes to see what they can lend to help in order to get the navy and the pirates to stop and get the fuck out of here. And how it goes is pretty well at first. They meet the Iron Furs, who are this dog folk-esque, wolf-like, wolf folk-esque people who are named Iron Furs because their fur is metallic instead of looking like seeming like natural fur. Well, normal fur. And so, what they got on good terms with them via defeating a great beast that had plagued the area a little bit. And, that earned them a lot of respect and a lot of bargaining power as they talked. They got a little DMPC to go with them places to help them figure out the other islands. And they really got to know the Iron Furs as a people, got to know that they work on a strictly trade-based kind of system. They don't really do currency, which is obvious to this type of society, but still worthy of note. They have really particular customs that I went out of my way to point out, such as their customary greeting is to stick their claws just barely into the palm of someone they're meeting. Not enough to draw blood, but just enough to prick a little bit. That's their customary greeting. They also have a food culture in which they don't really use utensils. They tend to use animal skin. Basically preparing animal skin in a very specific way so that it can be used to pick up food and then eat the food while keeping their hands relatively clean. And lots of little details like that. A lot of fun for them to just kind of delve into this culture and get to know them. And then once they kind of earn their trust and kind of got a plan going to have their support as long as those who have caused these islands trouble will be brought to judgment before them. And so they go on to meet the next tribe, who I, have amazingly named the Crafters. It's the best name I've ever made, because they craft things. Yes, they are. The Crafters are gem kobolds who live in a very deep hole in the middle of the next island over, and their culture is fairly different. They a lot of their little culture is built on building things. Every single member of the tribe is required to know how to build a weapon. And they build said weapons out of bone and wood. And thanks to access to an explosive substance from the boom frogs, which are these frogs that produce an explosive oil from them. Thanks to them, they basically are able to create a certain bone guns. They make bone guns, and they also infuse a bit of magic in the guns, so that they can function as guns. And my players had a lot of fun interacting with that. The artificer in particular was greatly happy to meet the crazy little gem kobolds with the bone guns. And then another little cultural thing about the gem kobolds that was really fun is that they name each other and outsiders after insults, basically. And it's a certain endearing thing. And they do it the same thing with outsiders. Outsiders coming in, they don't care if you have a birth name of any kind. You do not have a name until you have been insulted by them. And that becomes your name. Which is really weird, I know, but I had a lot of fun with it, which resulted in the chief being named Chieftain Cheeseweed, which my players had a great cackle over. And they ended up having to help these kobolds out with the pirates, because the pirates had stolen a very powerful contraption that they'd built, which was this bone. It was a bone machine. It was basically like a bone tank of sorts. Didn't function exactly like one, but that's the closest analogous to what it is. Had all types of weapons on it. Had all types of magical properties built into it. Yada yada. Incredibly important to them and their culture. And then all excited because they'd gotten to know these two tribes, gotten a feel of how lived in they are, about the cultures that they have, and just being relatively charmed by them, enjoying interacting with them. They go on to start their journey to meet the third tribe, because they're really excited. I mean, hey, these two are really cool. Let's meet the third one. I bet they're cool, but they have a lot of depth to their culture as well. Well, as they make their way onto the island, they discover that this island is where most of the warfare between the pirates and the Navy has been taking place. In fact, most of the foliage on the island in general is burned from magic use, and it's really depressing as they're walking up through the area trying to find the temple at which the green folk stay at, which is the name of their tribe. They pass by some Navy men talking about how weird their Navy captain is. Not too much of note. It'll come up in another session, but not much of note now. And when they clear past all the destruction of the forests and stuff, they make their way to the temple. And they discover that the temple has massive holes in it, as if they've been shot at by cannons. Players' hearts sink a little bit. They enter the temple, and there are bodies everywhere. The natives all laying about in monk robes, their green skin just dead on the ground. They had reached for arcane foci and their crystals, but did not seem to be enough. On site, there are dead pirates and dead Navy. but far more dead natives. They look around and they found that everything of cultural significance or possible value has been taken or destroyed. Most of the temple itself is in physical shambles. And the only trace, the only thing, only speck of anything left of this culture, of this society, is a single crying child who is far too young to know much of anything of the culture that they grew up in, that they've grown up in. Sure, they have bits and pieces, but they don't know the history. Not fully, not properly. Those books are gone. Now, that's all that's left. That's all that's left of an entire culture, entire people. It's a single child. And when I tell you the utter silence by the players in that discovery, oh, it was palpable. It cut the tension with a butter knife. It's one of my prouder moments, if I'm honest. I hate to chuckle at it, but it is what it is. And it's kind of the power of even decent storytelling. Because it's not like I pulled anything revolutionary out. I just built it up. The previous two cultures were, interacting with them was like lighthearted fun and learning about them and getting to know them as a people and getting to realize that these aren't just, random people on islands. These are properly fleshed out cultures. And that helps establish just how much has been lost when they find what remains of the third tribe. It properly hits them. They properly understand what has been lost. This isn't just dead people, which is tragic. But it's a genocide. It's a cultural genocide. Even if that child grows up, has kids of their own, most of everything about their people cannot be passed down. It is just gone. And that reality just hits them like a brick wall. That feeling of emptiness. There's nothing to loot. There's nothing to play around in this place. It is just empty and death. And it's a lot of depressing. It is. But it's also very fueling in a sense, because as they understand what has been lost, like they as players feel it, not just their characters, them as players feel the loss, the great loss and great evil that has been committed here. And so what they said when I ended the session on that sad note, they all said it. The Navy and the pirates are going to fucking die. And immediately them as players just started talking amongst each other in the after session chat, just kind of trying to flesh out a plan of how can they best get back at the Navy and the pirates for this fucking catastrophe that has occurred. And I loved it so much. It tells me how much they were invested into it, and tells me how well I was able to hook them into it. And yeah, I don't know how much of a lesson there is to learn in this example that I've given. Possibly there is. Maybe if I try to articulate it, is that knowing when, if you're going to have a depressing thing happen in a game, know when to drop it. Because you don't want it to happen. I don't think, well, you can't have it happen in the beginning. And that can be a good story, but I think there's something special about establishing happiness and lightheartedness first, and then taking it away. Not forever, not keeping it all locked up in your hands, but just sweep it up. Just this is what this world can be like. This is what the people and the things that you're going to be fighting will cause. This isn't as simple as, bad guys do bad things. This is bad people doing things that are irreversibly horrible. And what is their and the worst part of it that kind of hits them, as they talked about in the after session, is the idea that this wasn't even intentional necessarily. Because based on the way it was, with the Navy bodies being on one side and the Pirates bodies being on the other, it seems like they genuinely just, for some reason, chose to have the temple as their battleground, and then the green folk suffered for it. Neither side cared to let them evacuate. Neither side cared to stop their gunfire. Neither side cared to choose to fight somewhere else. No. That was where the fight's going to happen. It was going to happen regardless of who was in the way or what that would do. It's negligence. It's the worst type of negligence. And that's what really hits them. That's what really hit them. But saying that, I kind of strayed away from my point, unfortunately. Sorry. Is establishing a certain pattern of lightheartedness, and then at the end of that pattern, hitting them something strongly messed up. As long as you know your players and know not to go too far anyway, I think can be incredible storytelling and a great way to keep your players engaged. If you have them go through a few villages, let them get to know their people of these villages and have them successfully deal with those problems without much casualty and have a good time, then that next village, make it unsavable. Make it be something that maybe by the time they get there, most of the people are dead or something. Have it be a situation they can't stop. Have it, whatever. Have it be a tragedy that has occurred that they can't fix. They can maybe make it a little better, maybe. They can't really fix it. Not really. And I think that will do a lot. Assuming that you're okay with this type of game, you're okay with this type of content, I think that will do a lot to hook your players in. Because they'll realize the stakes in the game. They'll realize the consequences. They'll realize what can happen in the world that you've made. And that if they're going to help people, they gotta do it. They gotta get to it. They can't amble around. But yeah. That is what I have done with my players. And again, always be careful. Always know your table. Always figure out what you want. What kind of events you want to happen. Yada yada. Gotta have open conversation. what session zeros are for. But I thought I'd share that because I got a lot of good responses from players about it, even though they were horrified. When I asked them about it, they seemed very much into it. They loved the way the story went. They love what this has done and how this has motivated them to participate in what's happening. So, yeah. I recommend looking into it. And actually, now that I think about it, even though I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, you can do the reverse, too. It'd probably be really effective just for different things. Is if you have a story that's mostly depressing, like a game that's mostly depressing, or it's mostly back-to-back tragedies, then feel free to have a moment or a situation that is just lighthearted, that is just fun, that is just smiles. And sure, maybe later down the line, like way later after it happens, you could put up some stake or some possibility of it being taken away. But for in the moment, keep it like that. I think, because I think that also would do a lot in that game. Just, not quite the same thing. Still good though. But yeah. I hope you all enjoyed the video. And if any of y'all have any really good stories of ways that your game master has gotten you involved in a game, feel free to tell me about it. I'll be happy to read your stories. So, hope you guys have a great time. I'll talk to you later.